WUCA is not just a kind of a funny saying. There's a story behind it, and I want to tell. This is, remember when I was talking about the why? Why do you do something? This is my why. This is why we have this company. Right? This is why Global Horizons exists. And I said that I grew up without a father, so I had a very much of a, as a role model, very strong, independent woman. Yeah, yay. Anyway, I got the back of hairbrushes. I got, I got the belt. I was the youngest in the family, so I got to run to my room and slam my door. You know, the big thing is, oh, there goes Frank again, like that, as we grew up. And so, my mother's favorite saying was this, is, I don't care if you love me or not, but by God, you will respect me. Sound familiar? It was kind of in that era, okay? And so that was my role model of how to be a parent. I'm not making any excuses, but this is the choices that we make, and this is how our brains are wired. This is why it's such a passion for me, specifically to work with this industry, that you have to understand what's happening. Right? And so that's how my brain was wired to be a parent. So when I had 2 kids, right, I was a single parent, and I had a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. Both girls. Yay, right?
Yeah.
Oh, lucky me, yeah. But I had both girls. And so I was a parent like my parent. That's how I was. And here's the irony. My mother, because it was her grandkids, right? How much of a difference grandkids make. That she would call me Hitler. By how, and you know, and I did the same thing to my girls. I would look at them and I say, I don't care if you love me or not, but by God, you will respect me. That came out of my mouth on there. And I had really bad relationships, and they were involved in those relationships. I was in an abusive relationship, and they saw that abuse, and I couldn't get out, and finally I did, but a lot of damage was done because by then they were older. They were old. And because they were older, they then decided they wanted to go live with their mom, find out what it was like to live with their mom. So they lived down in Alabama, and they lived where she lived. And I was dad, okay? Maybe. I wasn't daddy, I was dad. And because of then how they were raised, as they got older, we became pretty much estranged. And wouldn't have a relationship. We didn't have a relationship. And my oldest daughter, who is 38 right now, had her fantasy was to live the Little House on the Prairie life. Laura Ingalls Wilder. And she loved that book. She loved that series. She wanted the family. It was a core family. They all got along. Yeah, they had struggles, but they all got along. And that's what she wanted. She went to college, met a guy. They got married. Great guy. Then she moved to New York where he lives. Right? So they live out in upstate New York. She has 6 kids. 5 of them home birth. That usually is a groaner, but okay. 5 of them home birth, but she's living her life. She's living her life. She loves it. Core family, and she made it a choice not to become the parent that she was raised by. That was her choice. And thank God she is, because she's a great mom. And she's a great wife. My youngest daughter had issues, and we were testing her for neurological issues, brain. She was on a whole bunch of drugs as she got older. She couldn't keep a job. She would go into college and she would stay for 2 weeks, and then we'd have to withdraw her. She was in and out of the hospital. We were testing her for psych. She was in inpatient treatment a couple of times a year, in and out of there. We didn't know what was going on. Nobody could diagnose what was going on. And so she lived with me for 1 year when just recently, she lived with me for 1 year. And then she wanted to go live with her sister. Right? Erin had a whole bunch of problems. And it's not one that, even as much as they liked each other and they loved each other, another sister wanted to handle, okay, with those types of problems. And so the oldest sister got on the phone with me and said, "Dad, don't let her come out here. I don't want her to come out here. Please don't let her come out here. We can't handle her. Right? We've got enough to do with the kids and what we're doing. We can't handle what Erin has." And nobody knew what Erin had, but Erin had it on there. And so I get on the phone. "Dad, this is your father. Where are you going?" "Well, I'm going to New York." "No, you're not." "Yes, I am. I want to go out there." "Well, no, you're not. Your sister doesn't want you out there." "Well, that's too bad. I'm going out to live with her, whether she likes it or not." And I said, "No, you're not going out there." And here's this escalating. I'm in my office. Here's the escalating conversation. "No, you're not going out there." "Yes, I am going out there." "No, I forbid you to go out there." Click. And she hung up on me. And she went out there. Never heard from her again for 9 years. That was the last I ever heard of her. For 9 years. They wouldn't, her sister wouldn't tell me about her. I wouldn't get any news, anything. I had no clue where she was for 9 years. Then out of the blue, I get a call from Jessica, the oldest one, and said, "Dad?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got some news for you." "Okay, what is it?" "Erin died." What I didn't know, and what they didn't know, and what we didn't know, is that Erin had Lyme's disease. And we figured it out, we traced it back, that she got bit by a tick when she was 9 years old. And because I went to school at Chadron State College out in the hills, and we would go walking in the hills in the forest. We'd always check for ticks, but evidently we missed one. Or I missed one, I don't know. Anyway, you never know, okay? But they didn't know that much about Lyme's disease back then. Now they do. But she was diagnosed and it was way too late. She woke up from a nap one afternoon and that was it. She just hit the deck. So I get this phone call that Erin's dead. And so the next time I saw her in a couple of days, because we went down to Alabama where she was living with her mother at that point in time, found out she was confined to a wheelchair at a point in time because Lyme's disease handles and attacks your neurological system in there, okay? And so all of your muscles and everything just go haywire. Your brain just goes haywire. And the next time I saw Erin, because she had an unobserved death, she had to have an autopsy, which means they cut you open all over, okay? And so she was going to be cremated, and since I had not seen her in 9 years, I wanted to at least say goodbye to her. And so the funeral home prepared her for viewing the best they could for her to be cremated. And since there wasn't going to be a public viewing, they put her in a sheet, so I just saw her face like this, and they poked her hand out of the sheet so I could touch her skin. So that was my last view of my daughter, was a sheet, and her face was like this, and her hand poked out. And that's how I had to say goodbye to her. So the relationship, and I swore right then, and as we were building this and thinking about what do we want to do, how do we want to handle this? And we had already started working on this idea, and I had this idea, for 20 years I've been teaching communities what this means. Not in this exact order, but what makes people successful and how do you create successful businesses. And it's all about relationships. And so then I started to dedicate what I did to making sure that that never happens to anybody else ever, ever, ever again. So this is my why. And it's not that I want to tell you that because of to feel bad for me because of what happened to me. I want to tell you that because you need to figure out your why. You need to figure out why you do what you do, because your why is in your brain and it's your motivation to do what you do. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this, because I am just on a mission that nobody else will have to go through, one, what I went through, but nobody else will have to raise kids like I raised kids, and to create that relationship. Because if this environment is created when you're around kids, you're helping them become what they can become. You're not dragging them down, and you're not being selfish. Right? You're making them and helping them become what they can become. And that's my passion. So if I can just move you in a little bit, move it in this direction to welcome, understand, comfort, and appreciate yourself and others, to create great relationships, then that is, I'm on my track. I'm on my mission. Right? And that's what this book's all about. That's the why. That's the why.